Welcome to Uncontested Hockey. This is a clip from our past episode here. We got episodes, reaction videos, vlogs, a bunch of hockey content dropping all the time. Make sure to hit that sub button. We got so much hockey content. Check out our sponsors. Their links in the description. Enjoy the video. I want to talk about guys coming and making an impact right away. One of those guys who did it for the Wild is Kirill Kaprizov, and off to a really good start despite the underwhelming start of the Wild. 8 points, 5 games. He was a pretty common, look, the most common Hart pick is always going to be McDavid, and then people are going to throw Matthews. But I saw Kaprizov get a lot of traction, at least in our friend group, for that Hart conversation. Do you think that's something that's possible for him this season?
They're going to have to be much better to make, and actually it probably works out perfectly for him, because if they recover from this and make the playoffs skating away, he could be in that conversation. It's always going to be hard because of the media that, the Matthews of the world get, and the McDavids and people like that. But I mean, he got a lot of votes last year, and again, I think a lot of people forget that the definition of the award technically is most valuable to his team.
Yep.
And for the Wild to become the 5th best team in the league last year in terms of points, this is an organization that perennially doesn't have 30 goal scorers every year, doesn't have more than 60, 70 point guys every year. For him to get 47 goals and 108 points,
insane.
I thought it was something in the water in Minnesota or something, but for him to go there and reestablish everything that anybody ever thinks about the Minnesota Wild, I think that says something about him. He made the Minnesota Wild last season, other guys too, obviously, but he made the Minnesota Wild last season watchable.
It's super fun to watch.
I mean, I say this as somebody that obviously covers this team for a long time, but I think that the majority of hockey fans worldwide, in continent-wide, if the Minnesota Wild are coming on your television and you're not a Wild fan, you're probably changing the channel. But last year they were an entertaining team that scored, had the 3rd most goals in the league, were constantly coming back in games, scoring 6-on-5 goals, and he was a huge part of that. And so I think that he is right there as one of the top 10 players in the league already in that conversation.
Yep. I totally agree. And I'm going to get a little spicy here.
Yep. And by the way, I mean, I'll say this, what Wild fans also need to remember, one reason why they got rid of Fiala is not just all these kids that they're going to have to re-sign in the next couple of years. Kaprizov's going to name his salary in 3 years.
Yeah.
He's going to be a $14 million player. And I think Bill Guerin started to recognize that. Bill never thought that he was going to go to $9 million in year 1. And then you got Boldy coming, Wallstedt coming.
Yeah.
You're going to have to re-sign Rossi, all these guys. And, Boldy's about to get a mega deal. So, whether it's going to be a bridge deal, mega bridge deal, or mega long-term deal. And so that's one reason why they went that route with Fiala.
Obviously, this summer, there was a big storyline with everything happening in Russia and Kirill Kaprizov. You covered that, in my opinion, better than anyone else in the hockey world. You were you had the pulse of that situation. You were updating everyone on it. But how close do you think it came to him not coming back?
I don't know if it ever got close, because the Wild really were proactive.
Okay.
And actually, I mean, coincidentally, I was in the city when a lot of that reporting was done.
Yeah.
And it was a scary situation. I mean, really the problem getting him out of there had nothing to do with the whole military thing. The problem was, and I mean, coincidentally, I wrote the story that ran July 1 on how there were a lot of European players, not just Russians last year, that played without work visas. The reason why is because when you get a U.S. work visa, I mean, this is a whole convoluted type of thing, but when you get a U.S. work visa, if you're from Europe, you have to get a Canadian work visa, U.S. work visa, and then a secondary type of like P1. All the players got P1s because that's what you need to essentially work. But to get into the country, there was such a backlog, especially up here in Canada, of going to the consulates and getting these work visas that the NHL essentially made a deal with the U.S. Customs that they did not have to. That essentially would be an unwritten rule that a gentleman's agreement that when you come to Canada during your hockey season, you're going to go get this work visa, and you're going to go to the U.S. consulate. Well, the Wild had it set up with Kaprizov to go to Ottawa. That's where it had to be, Ottawa or Calgary.
Okay.
And to go to Ottawa, and he was going to get this. Well, in December they canceled. I think it was December. All of a sudden the Wild didn't go to Ottawa, and so then when they came here to Montreal. Remember the whole thing with the attendance issues, and they canceled the games.
Yeah.
So then when they came here in Montreal, that one-off game that you and I were talking about before, where I didn't come to that game, it was just too difficult to get him to Ottawa to go to get it done, an accelerated work visa. So he went home without it.
Wow.
And so when they tried to get him here, when he tried to go through Dubai, when all that military stuff came out, he tried to go through Dubai, and they wouldn't put him on the plane. It wasn't the country, it was the airlines that would not put him on a plane without proof of a work visa. So he tried 2 different airlines, couldn't get on, and then he went back to Russia. The Wild know very important people. Bill Guerin has some lawyers that he knows really well in Washington. It's extremely connected, knows a lot of diplomats. They got him to Turkey, and they were able to get him the visa. So I don't think it was close because the Wild were so proactive with it and got him here. They didn't mess around. I mean, they got him here like August 1st, back into the United States. The question is what happens after this season, right? I mean, does he go back?
Yeah.
That's going to be the interesting thing.
Classic Canada being on backlog for stuff. The passports here, the offices here in the summer.
Crazy.
There was lines like crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Hit that sub button. We got content for every NHL team. And that's all.